admired Charlie. He dug Charlie. He wanted a little more credit than he ever got from Charlie, but then all idiots do, you know. And but you know, he loved him dearly, and yeah.
Did that director that resigned or got fired? Did he go on? You have to say his name, obviously. But did he go on to do?
I'm not going to say his name because
I don't want you to say his name.
Rubbing it in. No,
did he work?
He directs a lot of stuff for. Who's the guy who started CNN? Who's got
Ted Turner?
He does a lot of stuff.
I heard that director is running guns to Cuba. Right?
He does a lot of stuff for Ted Turner, like all the Civil War stuff he did for Ted Turner on the Ted Turner Network.
Not exactly Pope of Greenwich Village style stuff, but he's working.
But he's making buffalo burgers.
Yeah. Stop. No, not being a jerk. He does stuff, and he's not a bad guy. We just disagreed
not the right
on
guy
my
for
interpretation. That's all.
Your interpretation of it is what I'm trying to really hammer home. Is you set the bar for guys like they loved each other. And the movie starts with you getting Charlie fired, and the heist, a cop dies, and then Bedbug Eddie and everything. And the movie ends, you guys are holding hands, holding arms interlocked, and in the middle of the movie. That's what I really love about it, and something that I am waiting to do for a similar character, if it ever comes my way. Like, you guys cross the streets arm in arm, almost like a couple. You're in love with each other.
But see, guys like that do not question their fucking sexuality.
Exactly.
You know, because I kiss you on the lips.
Yeah.
Does not mean I want to sleep with you.
Right.
It means I love you.
Yeah.
Mwah! Hey, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
That's how I interpreted it when you kissed me on the lips in my living room before we got started.
Yeah. Same thing.
There was a little tongue. But...
Yeah, but I don't know why you had to do it 5 or 6 times. But
because you're cute.
You're cute.
Now may I interject?
Yeah,
and this is actually for both of you guys. Because both of you are quite often asked to play guys that are, on paper, unlikable.
Unsavory.
Which is...
I'm the new Rutger Hauer.
Which is... which is ironic.
I wrote
I'd like to hear about your wife, and sitting here next to Eric's wife, you are two of the tenderest souls that I know. And you both have managed throughout your careers to take these incredibly unsavory, unlikable characters and somehow make them guys we can't look away from.
Okay, look, let me.
Here's my question is, I said to Jay a long time ago, I heard a rumor that when Eric Roberts did Star 80 and he was trying to find Paul Schneider, that Fosse said to Eric Roberts, "You are playing me if I never made it." And
well, that's not exactly the story, but let me tell you that story because it's a really valuable story, and it's also an example of a director being as brave as an artist can ever be with another artist. And what happened that day? Yeah, Fosse. My two heroes as an adolescent were Bob Fosse and Hal Ashby, and I was always going to work with both of them or die trying. And
you almost did both.
Yeah, I almost did both. But yeah, right. But one day we're doing the scene. We've been shooting for a month in Vancouver, and we're back in LA now. And that was a long shoot too. That was a long shoot.
Star 80?
Yeah. And let's see, Foss and I were together for 3 months in like getting ready to get ready, and we shot for almost 6. So he and I were together every day for basically 9 months. And all the stories I wish I could tell you. But this story.
Can you let a couple out? This is the place.
This story is.
He's probably the most underrated director that ever lived.
I don't think he's underrated. I mean, he got an Oscar, an Obie, a Tony, all the same year. Blah blah.
Yeah, but people
and an Emmy.
People mention Coppola and Scorsese. Fosse's never on that list.
The boss is saying, "Tell the stories."
Okay, so I'm in my underwear playing a guitar, singing a song, and I made a mistake in the song, and I said cut. Well, you don't say cut on a Fosse set unless you're Fosse. It's just a rule of thumb you have to live by. Okay, but I say cut, and he stands up and he goes, "Come with me," and he walks across a huge stage at Zoetrope that it's the size of a freaking football field, and he walks across on the other side of it, and I kind of meander over there, my underwear, my guitar. Oh Christ, I'm in trouble. What the f did I do? And I get over there, and he goes, "Look at me." I said, "I'm looking at you." He goes, "Look at me," and he gets right in my face. I say, "I'm looking at you, man." He goes, "You're playing me if I weren't successful. Do you understand?" I never had to ask him another question. And on the way back to the set, this is a long walk. It's about a 50-yard walk. On the way back to the set, I started watching how he walked, and I had Paul Snider walk like him. And from that moment on, everything I did was nothing but Bob Fosse. Everything I did with that character, because he gave me the perfect image. But what a brave thing to say, to be playing a guy that is not likable, not savory, not anybody you're going to ever bring home to mom. And he says, it's me, man. Just do me. And so I just did him.
Do you know how many people are going to watch Star 80? There's about 500,000 people watching Star 80 tonight because of what you just said. Yeah. I'm going to watch it tonight.
I've seen it a zillion times, and every time was completely aware of how you embodied Fosse. You weren't doing Fosse. You were that guy. You just were that guy. And so I held that up as an example to Jay, saying, I believe that obviously it's Hollywood lore. I don't know if this is true, but if this is true, take that and apply it to some of the unsavory characters, because you had many unsavory characters, and I've said, use this bit that if it's not true, then it's still a great story.
And it was up in San
it's still
Good for you,
if it's not true, it's still good acting
don't
advice.
Let the truth
It's still good acting
story.
advice.
I love that line.
We were up in San Francisco. Both stories take place. Mine's on a much smaller scale. You were number 1 on the call sheet. I was number 21 on the call sheet. And I'm playing Matt Damon's brother in Hereafter. And he's like this guy that can talk to dead people. And I want him to make $1 million off of it. And he's obviously not into it. And this guy on paper is pretty much exactly Bob Sugar from Jerry Maguire. And the other guy that I played that was a dick that just wanted to get rich. Like the mover, the shaker, he talks too quick. You know, the guy, the unctuous thing. And I said to Nick,
I'm so sick of playing this guy.
But it's an Eastwood movie. You're not going to go, here, Clint, here's the deal. I'm a little tired of this type. So if you could, so I have to show up. And when you audition for Clint, you don't ever see him until he says action. You just get put on tape. And we went over the script, because she's the actor in the family. And she said to me, I got it. And I said, what? She goes, but she didn't do Fosse. She told me the story about Eric Roberts. Fosse said, you're playing me if I was never successful. I go, okay, what's that got to do with me playing Matt Damon's brother in Hereafter? She goes, you're playing Bob Sugar. She pulled one of my own characters from Jerry Maguire. She goes, what if Bob Sugar never made it and he was just a sad fucking guy? And I go, oh my God. And the second she said that, I knew exactly how I was going to play him. And then, you know how you're going to say the words, but when it comes to wardrobe, I never gave a shit. I want to ask you about that too. Like, then the prop guy goes, what kind of watch do you want to wear? I'm like, just pick one for me, bro. Because for me, I'm going to hit my line.
I want the shoes. I'm all about the shoes.
I just want to say the words.
That stuff is as personal as underwear, dude. That's personal stuff. That's big deal stuff.
Really?
Yeah, man.
See, I never cared. And she said to me, make sure all your clothes are a little too big. Make sure if you're wearing browns, make sure the browns don't match. Blacks that don't match, and have your hair go straight up. Be so pathetic that you're likable.
When you play guys that are not likable, you can't approach them, or like I'll just call them bad guys. You know, when you play bad guys, you can't approach them as bad guys. You have to approach them as if they're because bad guys don't think they're bad guys. So you have to approach them with the fact that this guy, in his own mind, is absolutely 101% correct and good. Yeah. And you have to approach him like that. Now this guy, Paul Snider, I mean, so many things. Like he started Chippendales. Had he not killed her, he would be he'd be rolling in dough.
Oh, in the mud. Oh, yeah.
He would be rolling in dough. He would be the success he always wanted to be. He would be all those things. But he effed up badly. But had he not done that, he would be one of the richest guys in this town.
Absolutely.
So
hanging out with Norm Macdonald, no less.
He was not a loser. He was not a loser. He was not an idiot. He was just unsavory. And you know, when you wear your pants so tight there that everybody can see the outline of your genitals, you're not welcome in a lot of places. And that's what he did.
Don't you find it strange that Norm Macdonald and Schneider knew each other? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
How weird! That's a weird pairing. Norm Macdonald.
They weren't pals, but Norm was a kid, and Paul Schneider was like the cool pimp on the block.
I love Norm Macdonald.
Oh, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Oh, what a guy.
I can do the rest
amazing?
of the podcast as him if you'd like.
He's the coolest cat going.
We both.
Hey, Eric Roberts in my garage. Oh, what the heck's going on? Paul Schneider was a pimp who was in charge of many, many dirty whores. Oh, my God. You were in Pope of Greenwich Village there, you know? That's crazy, man. I think you played a Pope or something.
But let's...
Are you Catholic? What the heck? What the H? Tell me about what you jumped when I said about me not caring about the props.
Well, props are so important to me, especially personal jewelry.
You realize what you're about to say is going to change how I work Monday.
Okay, look, if you watch Star 80, I had a little necklace with an S on it. Okay, I have that in a box frame in my office on the wall because of this. Not as a keepsake of the movie, as the fact that that's who I was once for 9 months. That's what that stands for to me. That S in that box frame, that little gold necklace S. That's who I was for 9 months, every day, day in and day out. And the last day we shot, when I'm on the floor bloody and I get to stand up and I'm done with that part, I have never been more relieved or happy or exhaustedly relieved in my whole life about anything. I didn't like the guy, but I didn't know how much I didn't like him up till I was through playing him, because I wouldn't allow myself to think I didn't like him, because I couldn't, because I had to be him. So he had to like himself. He had to think a great deal of himself, you know. And even though we all know, bravado is all fake, and he was fake. That's all he had going for himself, though, for his inner drive.
Fear.
Yeah, it all comes from fear and insecurity, honey. You know that. Yeah.
You're a real actor. Like what you just said. That shows. I mean, to me, sitting across from somebody that I've admired for as long as I've admired you, the fact
as you've had eyes,
as long as I've had eyes with which to admire you. The fact, I mean, you were that, like you said it, you were that guy. And I've never had, and this is not going to turn into a fucking hey, let me tell you what happened to me discussion, because nobody gives a shit. That's every other podcast except for the one when you're here. I've never, when they, in between takes, I'm talking about the fucking Dodgers, the Jets football, hey, where's Crafty with the frozen yogurt?
I am too when I can, but when you're playing that kind of guy, if you're not him, if you're just acting like him, it's going to be a bad performance. It's
going to be him, you walked to your trailer as him, and you were in your trailer as him.
Everything I did for 9 months was him, because if I didn't, I was going to be acting like him, and acting like him is how you come across as an actor who's almost good.
So he didn't deserve to be played as much he deserves to have been.
Well, it's not that he deserved it. Because,
I mean, the character.
Because I was doing it for Bob Fosse, who was somebody. He was an idol of mine, and he was absolutely the real deal. Down to, I mean, everything about him was what every artist wants in his life, and just everything.
We edit out any pauses.
We had a huge all that jazz discussion last night where I was going, do you know how brave that was? He's trying to sleep. And
it's a monumental piece of work.
I'm trying to sleep, and she's waking me up. She goes, he had a guy play him editing Lenny.
The comedian.
He had a fake Lenny and a fake Bob Fosse editing a fake Lenny being directed by Bob. And I'm like, all right, now you're freaking me out. Who put mushroom caps?
Roy Scheider was a fine actor, but he was brilliant in that movie. I'm a fine actor, but I was brilliant in Star 80. Even Liza Minnelli is a fine performer. She was brilliant in Cabaret. It was Bob Fosse is what we all have as a common ingredient. And I am my biggest fan. Don't get me wrong, okay? But Bob Fosse is why I'm brilliant in that movie. And I have all the tools. I have a method of homework that's a sure thing, blah, blah, blah. But Bob Fosse is why I'm brilliant in that movie.
Now you got a Golden Globe nomination for Star 80. You got the Academy Award nomination for Runaway Train. do you deserved it, obviously, but is there a time when you're